And hi and welcome from Rudy's on the Circle in Waco. Welcome into our Baylor Coaches Show. We're glad you're with us this week. Boy, do we have a treat for you this evening. Welcome Baylor head football coach Dave Aranda, who is with us for the entire hour tonight. Dave, welcome to you.
Hey, it's good to be here. It's good to be off of Zoom.
Yeah,
How about that?
Exactly. So we did the coaches shows pretty much every week in the fall with you, but it was either Zoom or we recorded in my office. This is your first time to actually be here for the show at Rudy's.
This is so much better. We'll take this anytime.
You're going to like the Rudy's also. That will make sure you get on your way out. Appreciate you doing this. Wrapping up spring drills this week. The Green and Gold game comes up on Saturday at noon at McLean Stadium. Overall, how has the spring gone for you guys?
Really good. I think it starts all the way back in December with strength and conditioning and the relationships being built and the new coaches coming in and really focusing on who we are as people and the confidence being built and the relationships being strengthened with the adversity that comes day in and day out from lifting this weight, or I never thought I could lift this much, or I never thought I could be pushed to do this or run this far or run that fast. And I think that's really the start of it, because then you get kids that are confident, that are believing in themselves, and then you get coaches that are tight and are aligned, right, in terms of everything we need is right in front of us, and really working to build relationships with our players so that we can grow day by day. And I think all of that has brought us to where we're at. On offense and defense, we're seeing guys play the right way in terms of when there could be shots. We're seeing and vets bringing in younger guys. And I think, I feel it goes back to those days.
And remind folks, here, first time head coach, you didn't have spring. That hurt a lot, I think, just not being experienced going into last year.
Yeah. Like I can remember being in Baton Rouge at the time. I don't know if it's well, let's just play. I remember thinking that now. The things that we've missed, that all the in-between time.
Yeah.
That's all of the, hey, I'm struggling. And you have a conversation that's got nothing about academics. It's just about, right, talking about someone that winner and strength and conditioning and didn't get it. And through that, like, how do you respond? This is how we respond to something like that. And so you're getting a lot of face value, and you almost overload on the football. Yeah. And so I think a lot was learned, player-wise too, people and relationships, and
it really wasn't fair to you. But it was so different. There was no doing football and coaching. Wasn't anything to draw upon you and for everybody, really.
Just being a first-time head coach, I think really getting to in terms of who you are and all of those things for me, I had thought about And if you're to go back, I had that worked out, and then to the pandemic and just the adversity that we were seeing. I think you saw for a lot of us, you saw the in certain aspects, just in terms of, and so when it's like, and if you don't down to the point it needs to be, that for me was a great learning experience. Another way.
Yeah.
But I think, we talked to our team how your action and all of it, and so I think seeing all of it and seeing kind of where I could be better, and kind of sitting with it, because when you like something with it, well, when you just sit with it, you can really they get into you, and so now you really to these are the beliefs. This, I think some of that was coming out at the end of the year, and so I think there's probably came back in January. There was some, and we've just taken it off.
All right, very good. To come with Coach Dave Aranda, Baylor head football, the Baylor Coaches Show, and we'll be right. Audio engineer, Matt Izzetti. This one's a Rudy's commercial. It's a good one. And you're back with us on the Baylor Coaches Show, live from Rudy's. Baylor head football coach Dave Aranda, our guest here this evening. We'll get we'll get some questions from the audience. It's our First Place Foods Ask the Coach, so we always get good questions from the audience here, and appreciate everyone that is here, everyone listening, everyone watching on television. Thanks for being a part of the show this evening. Let's talk about this spring. Did you have, going into the spring, I know the answer to this because I know you fairly well. Did you have a list, a priority list of things you wanted to get done in spring drills this year?
Yeah, so number one was own the standard. And so that would, our standards of class and integrity. So class for us is to be kind, to have good manners. There's nothing that says you can't be that way and then still will be successful and get wins. And I think you look at our basketball team as a great example of that. And so, the actions speak louder than words. I'm meeting with our younger, our new enrollees, and really our young guys from last year too, on just yes sir, no sir, thank you, excuse me, on things like that. And so like we role play and go through all of it. And so I think there's two types of class. There's first class and there's no class, right? And so I think to exude class is a huge standard for us. And then integrity is a tough one. So integrity is like what you say you are is who you are. And so the day-to-day, to live up to that, to live up to real high integrity is tough. And so we talk through that and the choices that you have to make. 100 things going on in a day comes down to two things. Like, here's something that I know I'm supposed to do. I don't want to do it. Right? Can you get yourself to do it? Here's something can you keep yourself from it? And so, we do integrity, right? So what we say, own the standard is on and off the field. And so looking at vehicle to show class, hey, it's a timeout. All the stuff that maybe I suspend that and I'm going to go do. And so we're looking at football as a vehicle to build a higher standard. And so we talk about that. And so that would be, that you have to do in terms of and belief in teammates. You're 1/11th. There's been progress with that. I think one side's there's been work on both of those. Show up and execute plays. You don't need a bunch of develop dominance. Is I can line across from me, and I can do it with belief, and I can do it with my partners. The last piece was don't flint. He comes, which you know what's going to come. We're going to win this thing in the end. Self-talk is such that I'm going to get past what happened. And so I think all three, and I think spring football's been really, because you love to get it in a field too, and so it's been a big part of spring. I in terms of making improvements there.
You recognize that. I mean, it's not just lip service, and recognize them for excelling in those areas.
Our Baylor Standard Awards just last week, so we had a crawfish boil and everything. So it was. I thought our guys really enjoyed it. I think there was some that the crawfish. There's others that were trying to figure it out. I thought the guys enjoyed it. For character, and so like all that are around them, saying they treat people right. They training room, right, talking to. The thing about character is like when you how are you treating people that don't have that juice? You don't have to treat them a certain way. What you want, right? So how do you treat them? And just getting feedback on guys and it's an education, really. but the guys that are knocking out, recognize them. We were able to recognize the weight room. And then the last is grit. And so that's like, they're working into transition from their version of them, and they're maybe getting knocked down, getting back up, encourage that fight. And so that would be cool. And we had a few guys, and all 4 of those awards.
Wow.
Was one of those guys. And so we'd like to get more.
Yeah. It kind of encapsulates all. You had the crawfish boil. It was indoor facility. I don't know if you guys know, or you folks can leave a mess, but spick and span, right? And everybody picked up, cleaned up, and ready to go for the next.
And so when we're done, and I should have said something, or I should have chip in, clean up. I didn't do that. About it was too, like the coaches, the strength coaches' kids were there, and so we tag, or there's like medicine balls, so like all that's happening over there. So I'm kind of looking at that. Basically, everyone that we had is folding up tables. I mean, we've got players that are throwing away trash.
Cool. That's good.
Yeah.
And you didn't say a word.
Mm.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to get to football. It's important for everyone to doing, instilling in these guys off to performance on the field also. Come back and plenty more. Want to talk about here in spring, but let's take a break right now. Coach Dave Aranda talking Baylor football. Be right back in just a moment. And welcome back live from Rudy's on the Circle in Waco. John Morris, head coach Dave Aranda. We appreciate you being with us. Thanks to our hosts here at Rudy's. Great host spot. Thanks to Scott and Shay and Dylan. Let's give them a round of applause. We always appreciate the hospitality here at Rudy's. You're seeing right now why we love coming here to Rudy's for the Coaches Show.
It's a great environment. I just tell you, it just beats so much just not being able to get out and just see people, connect with people. Just the energy. It's great to be here.
Very good. All right, let's get to some of our First Place Foods Ask the Coach questions. It's brought to you by First Place Foods. Hunn's Private Stock Pickles. That's a darn good pickle. And we have, I think, jars of pickles to give to the folks who have asked questions from the audience. First is Roy Evans. Roy is right there, front and center. Roy and Ann, first one's here every week for our Coaches Show. Roy says, are you looking at the transfer portal? And if so, are you looking at specific positions?
That's a good question. We are, and so we're looking for big people there. So both O-line, really O-line specifically, we're short on numbers there, and then defensive line. And then I think so starting with those two positions, that's kind of an intentional look. If we were to get something where maybe there's a connection to myself or to one of our coaches, or there's someone that wants to be at Baylor, that's a fit at Baylor, that is not in those positions but is such a game changer that it makes sense to take it, then that would be the, whether that's a receiver or a DB or something like that. I feel good about those other positions. I think we're trying to get Baylor football to run through the O-line and D-line and really have pride in our big men and to really bully people. And so whether it's been strength and conditioning or it's been football tactics, everything is built through that. I think we're always looking for reinforcements in that area.
It's a good question, Roy. Thanks very much. Would Apu fall into that category, this category?
Yeah, Apu's been such a great addition, and Apu Ika, and so we recruited him from, when I was at LSU, we recruited him from Utah, and Apu's been just his physicality and just his energy. He will give these howls that when you're in the middle of a practice session, all of a sudden there's like a shriek or a howl will come, and it's coming from him, and it's almost like it's a war cry. And then the guys they love him, and so it's been a really good fit there. And there's an attitude and an edge that has really helped that D-line room.
It's the guy that's in the defensive line. Nose tackle, really. He goes about 3.5 bills, right? Right now?
Yeah, he doesn't want me to say.
Oh, okay. All right. He fills up some space, let me say that, in the defensive line. Good questions. Has the transfer portal become such a deal that how much time do you spend to that? How much personnel do you commit to that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have someone in our recruiting department that's solely looking at transfer portal people, and or that in addition to just the roster. It becomes with us, like keeping everything so that we're not having money. So I think the transfer and for me on it would be it's always and they come through your program and they go away. Where my thoughts changed in your program in any way you can, and you look at some of the Apu has done, Grant has done, and so we're looking at that right now.
Very good. Good questions. Thanks. All right, Tom Gutierrez. He says this season with the prep offense, and then on a
No, great. So offensively, identity, and we're looking for things where our kids can doing and can execute at a tempo. The offense has really not designed that way. There's more backs under center, as well as sets, but it's and then it's designed to get people to play action passes, and so and Jackson Gleason, a couple guys. Every day they're catching, for long gains, but the run game own scheme, and so we're whatever twists and stunts and running them sideways, and the running backs have to, if the edge is if we overtake, the edge is knocked out, we cut it up. It's an offense that just the amount of interior, whether it's twist, you look, Iowa State is a great wide zone team. You look at the have, and just my personal relationship. I'm big believers in them, and so I feel good about the identity and offense. And then Spanish. Know some of the bad words in Spanish. And then as I just grew up, unfortunately, I was struggling in high school to Spanish course, class, that mad as that, on there. But when we were growing up, and I still remember those days. A lot of those days when I was younger.
Yeah, very good. Tom, thanks very much. Appreciate it. It's our First Place Foods Ask the Coach right here in that Baylor cap. He's on the offensive line and
good. Yeah, so we have a few seniors. So, you feel good. Now, whereas a little bit of, run this pass protection. They're Baylor, right? However many O-line coaches. While the experience is good, to rewire some of that to get. I think you do that in a way that's and you do it through simplicity. All these other stuff is good. This is you dig a rabbit hole that goes the hows and the why. Bunch of questions with the what. There's one thing. Go all the way deep like that, and then you can build it back. You look at like an Xavier yesterday, and Connor Galvin's strength that he put on. The guys just when 500 or 400 some pounds, and you just walk around different. And so I feel like to take that from the weight room requires simplicity. Thinking a bunch. Here's the ABC, and let's go. Eric Mateos, Jeff Grimes. I'm excited about the O-line play. The defensive line they're playing right now, and so there's been quite a bunch. This past we were able to. The pass protection I thought was good. I feel good about where it's going to end up.
Appreciate that. Let's take a break here as we come back. Our Academy Sports and Outdoors question Baylor on the field here in the spring with head coach Dave Aranda. The spring game coming up this Saturday, noon Central Time. Kickoff for Baylor and Baylor. It's green versus gold on Saturday for the spring game. Give you more details on that coming up, but we'll have more on the Baylor Coaches Show right after this.
Hey, Coach.
This is
And back on the Baylor Coaches Show. White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics Health Tip. Now you can experience better care without leaving home. Schedule an appointment anytime and get the care you need by video chat, phone, or text. Coach, now it's time for our Academy Sports and Outdoors Question of the Week. It's brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, the official sporting goods and outdoor retailer of the Big 12 Conference. Take a listen.
Hey, Coach. What lessons can your team learn from experiencing both winning and losing?
It's a good question. So to me, it would go to just the character development and just how much character is the start of just whatever the results are going to end up being. And so character in doing the right things and thinking the right way and handling your business to where I'm going to be there early for my learning specialists, right? I'm gonna treat my athletic trainer the right way, right? I'm going to be there early for meetings, and I'm going to be there with a pen and a paper, and I'm going to be taking notes, right? And I'm going to be watching film on my own. I'm going to bring other players with me, and whatever I know, I'm going to teach them, and I'm going to try to learn whatever they know, right? And just all of that work. Right, the character that it takes. So we talk about like performance character is what drives you as a player. And we talk about relational character, like your character with how you treat other people, right? And so like those is kind of the foundation. The stronger that is, the better you're going to be at the process. So like character drives the process. The process is like the day-to-day stuff that you're doing, and process is going to drive results. And so I think to answer the question, when you look at winning and losing, you go all the way back, right? When you pull it all the way back to like, where was your character at? What was your process like, right? And what were the results that you got? And so I think when you look at it from a perspective of things that you can control and things that you can really own, you want really strong character. You want a great process. and you want it such that you're bringing people with you. And so that when you're doing a great job, you're bringing others along with you, and all of a sudden you got a team that's just attacking it day by day.
Wow, very good. All right, that's our Academy Sports and Outdoors question of the week. Academy Sports and Outdoors, the official sporting goods and outdoor retailer of the Big 12 Conference. Tell everybody about Vic Viloria. That cat is fun to watch. I mean, he is doing a job, isn't he?
I love Vic. So I first got to know, well, to be honest, when I was coming up as a coach, I knew about Vic from just his work at Florida State. I'd see him and the energy and everything. And then when I got to LSU, he came on as an assistant for us. And Vic's got a great heart. You know, Vic's got an exterior that looks kind of intimidating, which I think is a plus, really.
Right.
I think it's good to have in a strength coach, but his heart is real, and he's very smart. And so I think, you know, on the outside it could look like something, but on the inside, in terms of, and also how his mind works, there's such a connection with players. I feel like the guys love working with him. I feel like, you know, they don't want to let him down. And then, you know, Vic's a loyal guy. And so I know the things that we talk about is being echoed there in the weight room. And I feel like, you know, his love of just pure strength. You know, you love being in the weight room now because they're playing old Rocky tunes, right? And like the Karate Kid songs. And so it's like everything 80s down there. And so the kids are kind of freaking out, but the coaches are all kind of bobbing their head.
It's kind of different, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. But you know, his intensity and his love for the kids, I think, has really been a difference maker. So excited. And, you know, we're just getting started with him.
Yeah, and he hadn't been here that long, but I think I'm safe in saying you can see the difference that he's made with these guys already.
Yeah, so I think Micah Makuza is one. So Micah, you know, he came last year during the quarantine. And so just, you know, in fairness to all of it, he was not able to really have a strong lifting regimen and not able to do a whole lot. And so I think last year, you know, he squatted like 380, which is not very good. It's not a good number, but that's what it was. And when he tested for his squat this year, about a month ago, it was 600 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
You know, and so like that's an extreme example.
Yeah.
But there's others with, you know, the 100 pounds or so that has been a difference, whether it's been the bench or the squat or the clean.
Yeah.
And so you're excited to see that, and like I think it does a lot for confidence, right? And it, you know, hey, let's take that and take that to the grass, and I think we do that with simplicity. Where, hey, we've got guys that can move people. We've got guys that can bully people. Let's focus on that. And I think both Ron and Jeff have done a great job of allowing that to happen.
Wow, that's great. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, let's look at the defensive side of the ball. You got 10 starters back from last year. Yep. Terrell Bernard, great year last year. He's sitting out the spring. We'll look at the defense when we come back on the Baylor Coaches Show with head coach Dave Aranda. Stay with us. We'll be back live from Rudy's Real Texas Barbecue. Welcome back on the Baylor Coaches Show, live from Rudy's on the Circle in Waco. We appreciate you being with us. We appreciate our hosts here at Rudy's. And thanks to Rudy's Real Texas Barbecue with head coach Dave Aranda talking Baylor football on the field, the defense this year. 10 starters back. I mean, that is huge, isn't it? Just the continuity of having these guys back for another year in that defense.
You know, Ron Roberts, our coordinator, has been great. I have a lot of respect for Ron. Ron, he still is. He's a mentor to me. I coached for him. I think it was back in 2007, so I've learned a lot of ball from him. And I think just Ron, just seeing the strength gains, just understanding, the need. So we didn't really do any football up until the very beginning of spring ball, which we've been in it for about a month. And so very little football at all, and it was all relationships. We would be down with the guys when they're lifting weights. We would have meetings and breakout sessions where we're talking about, race, or we're talking about, process, or we're talking about, how to handle the voice in your head, the strong voice or the weak voice, when adversity strikes. And so you name it, And so I think Ron was able to see the strength stuff, see the relational stuff, and see that, we've got ourselves a different team, now than what it was back last year. And so was able to pull back on the football and the different calls and all of it. Now, we still have a good call sheet, but it was more on execution. It was more on our goals for defense is knowing where your help is, right? Winning your one-on-ones, and then not flinching when adversity comes. And I feel like we've been hitting those things, And I think it really starts there, and then I think then you go with the ownership of our players. So, I'm able to be on the field during scrimmages, and so I'm hearing Jalen Petrie communicate up front, and he's calling out the coverage checks. He's calling out the front checks, even though that's not really what he's supposed to be doing, but he's doing it. And then he's calling out, hey, the offense, I think they're going here, they're going here, they're going there. I mean, just he's given a narration, right, prior to the play, and then he's making the play, And then you're seeing the improvement on the defensive line of just there's been countless times. So we would, use film from previous stops or NFL film for this is how we want block protection to look and everything. And we're using our film now because it's showing up on a day-to-day. So you're looking at like a guy like Rob Solon's a great example of Rob has been kind of a jet up the field guy, not really any hands. And now all of a sudden Rob is locking out and he's playing his primary gap and the ball is cutting back. And so now he crosses the O-lineman and plays his secondary gap. And then you've got Apu that demands a double team, and anytime he doesn't get a double team, there's great push in the backfield. And then corner-wise, with Coach Curtis coming, right? Coach has got a great heart and is just someone that sees people first and builds that relationship to be able to get to his players, And so they're playing with technique, and the press is truly press. I think there was a time where press was kind of an inch out. Right, and so you'd be in a press alignment to take away a certain route, and guys would inch off, and a 3rd and 3 route was completed, and now press is press. And even some of our better players that don't have to go by the T of whatever we're asking them to do, a guy like Boogie, like Kalen Barnes, he's all about it, right, and wants to be a technician. And so defensively you feel really good about the trends, about where things are going. And so I think, the next step for us is going to be the complete ownership of when things go bad, right? When you do hit adversity, right? Can we stay within the limits of what we've created for ourselves in terms of playing with technique, in terms of great communication, right? Or do we, wild out or something? And so I think, that's a challenge because we got a lot of prideful guys in that room, and knowing that the defense is going to be good. But when things go bad, I think that's really kind of who you are. And so trying to get them in that position has been a focus here at the end of spring. But I'm excited about the defense. I think we're going to have a good one.
I mentioned Terrell Bernard, who had the shoulder last year, end of last season. He's sitting out spring completely, making sure he's 100%. But you say he's really a great leader for you, even though he's not out there on the field.
Yeah, I've got so much respect for Terrell. He is an amazing person. Amazing person. There's not a lot of guys when you're going through or just the beginning of a season or not even the start of a season where you go, man, when this guy's gone, we're going to miss this guy. But I do that with Terrell just about every day. And so just his maturity, his heart, his perspective, I think is really unique. And so we were talking, with a couple months ago, going before spring was kind of on the horizon, about just how hard it was going to be, not going through all the stuff, right, and just taking precautions, and still being a leader. And we talked about, hey, this is an opportunity to be an even greater leader, right? If you can lead by by the power of whatever plays you're making, that's one thing. If you can lead just by influence and by wherever guys are at, meeting them there, as opposed to guys looking up at you and what you're doing, which Terrell's never that guy anyways. But if he can meet guys wherever they're at and work with them to bring them up to his level, then that's a totally different style of leadership, and he's been doing that. Really proud of him.
Man, that's tremendous. All right, let's take a break, and let's look at the offensive side and then your plans for the spring game on Saturday. We'll have that when we come back. Visiting with Coach Dave Aranda, Baylor head football coach, back live from Rudy's on the Baylor Coaches Show right after this. And back on this evening's Baylor Coaches Show with Baylor head football coach Dave Aranda. Let's look at the offense, and you've touched on Jeff Grimes, new offensive coordinator, Eric Mateos, new offensive line coach. Great to have those guys here. You said, I think you mentioned it earlier, but you said the offense kind of got after it this week, the practice yesterday.
It was their best day. It was good to see guys having fun and just seeing, there's been some back and forth. I think that the defense has been ahead on a fair amount of things, but it has been a back and forth piece with any form of scrimmage or competition, but it was really good to see offensively, just guys executing and the belief that was there. Never one time throughout any of it did I ever feel like heads were down, palms were up. There was none of that. I give Coach Grimes credit. Coach Stuckey, Chancey is just a great leader of men, is going to be a superstar, I feel. And so you get guys that are just really working hard, not for their brothers, but then for their coaches, and there's a great connection there, I feel. And so I'm excited to be able to see kind of as this thing builds, But I think like the ability to run the football and the ability to line up, right, and get your cleats in the grass and just move people and impose your will on people is I remember we were talking earlier this week, is you go all the way back to December, and that was a tough month, and so just if you go back into that time, just thinking about, what we got, Dave, get this right. What is it? What do you want it to look like? And just the physicality, the big play potential, and the identity, right? So not like not someone that's doing a bunch of stuff, someone that's doing something, one thing and is known for it and does it so well that people can't stop it. And so when you're thinking like that, I thought of Coach Grimes, and so then to get to get Sean Bell in the position to coach quarterbacks, Sean has that room engaged. So I was with them prior to the start of their meeting, and they've got on their board all of Sean's like quotations and mannerisms, and so they've got them down. They're almost like doing impersonations of them, and so there's such a there's a good connection there. I feel like the staff is tight, and I feel like they know who they are, they know where they're going, right? The players know that, hey, I can make a mistake, and I'm gonna be lifted up on the other side of it. I'm not going to be talked down to, and so that you're encouraging growth that way, and feel the best is yet to come.
Man, that's huge. You mentioned the quarterbacks. I can kind of feel people throwing or hollering at their radio or their TV saying, ask him about the quarterbacks. It is a spotlight on the quarterback. You'll have a new quarterback starting this year. Looks like you've got 4 good ones out there right now.
Yeah, just and again, Sean's done a great job with that group. I think anytime I go, whether it's a practice or it's a meeting you go through, there is such it's a strong banter back and forth. It's like brothers, really, And so I feel that with that group probably more than any other group, and that's a credit to Sean. But you look at when I look at the quarterback, both Jacob Zeno and Gary Bohannon and Blake Shapen are all rotating evenly. And then after that, and Kyron Drones is getting a fair amount of reps. He's not getting quite the reps those other 3 are getting. And so, Blake may start with the ones on this day or in this period, and then the next period it may be Gary that has the ones. And then at the end of the day, maybe it's Zeno that has it. And so we can all see him versus certain defenses, but really with certain O-lines that are protecting for them, and then certain receivers that are catching along with them. So we've been able to manage that well, I feel. And then with the scrimmages that we've had, be able to give them the appropriate reps and then give them feedback always, like, hey, this is where we see you. This is what you're doing well. This is what you can do better, right? And then just keeping that open line of communication, I think, allows guys to know where they're at, get both feet in the ground, go to work. And when I think of Jacob, I think of him anticipating throws, getting balls off on time. I think of Gary, I think of the play action pass and the rollouts and his ability to run outside the pocket. And when I think of Blake, I think of his ability to create, and the arm angles that he can throw the ball and just his arm talent. And so there's a lot of skill there, and a lot of and great kids on top of it, And then along with that is Kyron Drones, which Kyron was close to power clean, 300 pounds, which is just freakish for a quarterback, and so Kyron's built different, and his ability to learn and pick stuff up and attack the reps that he's getting is really impressive. A lot of credit goes to him with that. So you feel good about the quarterback position. I do.
Yeah, that's very encouraging. Well, we appreciate you being here. Thanks very much. Look forward to the spring game coming up on Saturday. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
No, this was awesome. I look forward to next time.
All right, Coach Dave Aranda, Baylor head football coach. We'll be back and wrap things up right after this. Really appreciate Coach Dave Aranda with us for the hour tonight on the Baylor Coaches Show. Appreciate everyone tuning in. The spring game is Saturday, noon Central Time, and gates will open at 11 a.m. Come in through Gate C. Parking will be free and open to the public in lots 3 and 4 at McLean Stadium. Here's the upcoming events in Baylor athletics. Acrobatics and tumbling hosting the national championships tomorrow and Friday. Big 12 men's and women's tennis will be hosted in Waco this weekend. Baseball at Tech, softball at Iowa State, and again, the spring game coming up on Saturday. Thanks for being with us. For Coach Dave Aranda, I'm John Morris, and remember the spring game Saturday at noon. Thanks for being with us for tonight's Baylor Coaches Show live from Rudy's. Thanks, Trip. Appreciate it, man.
This has been a presentation from Learfield IMG College.